When we last spoke to our next guest, we were in the heart of the lockdown and things were a little bit bleaker than they are now. Tariq Qureishy is a future expert and he's been working on the recovery strategies for businesses. Hi Tariq, really great to speak to you. And I know one of your key themes is trust and maintaining trust. Can you tell us a little bit about this and how it sort of really relates to the current crisis?
Hi Laura, good morning. Yes, indeed. Trust is the thing it's the glue that keeps it all together. All our relationships as we know them are changing. Relationship with leadership, institutions, virtual teams, all of these elements are changing. It is changing with companies, with economies, the way we do business. Every single relationship that we have is now changing. And all of the trust-based relationships that we have now, as they change, we need to modify our behavior and relook at that. Based on these, we will have a future. Based on building trust and understanding and confidence in uncertainty, we will build a future. Now, how do we do that? Firstly, we need to communicate. We need to communicate with authenticity and honesty and a transparency which is relevant, with our intentions to be really clear and simple. So that's one of the most important things. The second is that to make it relatable. Some of the information that's coming in are from people who we can't relate to. They're not scientists, they're not medical experts and so on. So clear, crisp communication from trusted people and trusted representatives is the sort of thing that we need to be able to do. Now, we also in companies have a fear of perhaps saying something wrong. I think leaders have to go out there with their teams and be able to engage with them, because at this point in time, everybody is like a wee bit scared. So therefore, everything is being de-risked. So there's no innovations. It's very counterintuitive. Even though you're at a difficult time in life, you need to innovate. And therefore, leaders need to communicate that and build trust that innovation is fine. And finally, trust is a future currency. The more that we build, the more we can utilize it. Once you have trust, you can do almost anything. And if you don't have trust, it doesn't really much matter what else you have, because we will struggle with everything. And this is where the Dubai government has done extremely well. It's with its social capital development, where they're bringing together belonging, connection, and the whole reciprocity and participation. That's built trust. So the country has built trust. And I think it's on a very strong footing based on that.
I have to say, I do really like the new hashtag, We Are All Responsible. I think that's really good. And obviously the main issue at the moment is health. That's what we're all concerned about. How can perhaps people build their health? And if people who are maybe older people going back to work, how should they maybe protect themselves as best they can?
You know, I've been talking to a lot of public health experts, and ultimately we need to build our personal health resilience. We can do whatever we like, but if you don't have our immunity and our basic health in place, it won't work. Of course, we have all the guidelines and the rules of social distancing, wearing masks, and making sure that we are following those rules at least for the next 3 to 6 months as we get ourselves together. You know, interestingly enough, it's another changed behavior. For 3 months, we have been doing something different away from work. So people are hesitating to go back to work now. And so we need to be careful how we move forward and do it. We are only as good as our weakest link. So whoever in our company is not being careful, and that's again a trust issue, we need to trust that we will all be able to respect that. There's another very interesting statistic. Sadly in the US, over 100,000 people have died because of coronavirus. 43% of them came from old people's homes. So that's a very important, vulnerable statistic. The second one is that the 45 to 65-year-olds who are going back to work, they feel that they're okay, but they're also vulnerable and we have to be careful with them. I'm dead in the middle of that category. So for me, and for a lot of people like me, it's really important. And simple things like blood pressure management, diabetes, simple things like keeping our body fat, the BMI index in place. These are some of the basic, simple things that we need to do. So as we go out there, let's be more healthy. Let's build up our immune system and follow the rules. And I think if we follow the rules, we'll be fine. South Korea has shown that. New Zealand has shown that. China has shown that. A lot of people have gone back to work. They're back to 90% of their productivity pre-coronavirus. So it can happen, and then we can basically move from that. Now, the 10% delta of the shortage is actually quite a big number, and a lot of people will struggle and suffer from that. We need to find a different solution for them. But we can go back to 80 to 90% fairly quickly and with being responsible.
Really interesting there, particularly about those statistics. And you touched there on businesses and productivity. What about new businesses that have maybe evolved during this crisis? How can they survive? Because it's still very uncertain.
Yeah, absolutely, Laura, because if you look at businesses, I mean, first thing you have to do is we have to put our oxygen mask on. We have to do that. We have to survive. So the next 2, 3, 4 months, we need to be able to find a way to do that. And any kind of stimulus, any kind of activity from bank, from the governments, from anyone else has to be there. But once we've overcome that, we have to do a 6-month to 9-month scenario, which is the most realistic thing in front of us. And as I've said in my past presentation here, that post a pandemic, there is always a roaring success in economic activity. So what I see is the roaring 20s. And this is something that's going to happen. So new things are like the food and agriculture environment. There has to be a new development and innovation around that, around health, telecoms, building a talent economy, supply chain being adjusted, not from centralization to decentralization, but redesign of our supply chains in a much, much more effective way. Automation will become much more acceptable now, because if 43% of the people in old people's homes are passing away because of coronavirus, suddenly we'll be readier to accept automation in that kind of environment. And I think our behavior set changes because of that. So there are lots and lots of businesses. I mean, I've listed out about 10 businesses already. They will change and they will really improve the world. And I think we need to be focused on what can be done. The glass is 80% full, not 20% empty. Let's focus on that. Let's build on that. The ones that will die, there will be certain companies that will die. It's like a forest. There are old trees, even big old trees, and they fall. And when they fall, they collapse and there's a big mess. But a lot of little shoots come out from there. Those are the young companies, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, which the SMEs, which Dubai is really famous for. This is the time for innovation. This is the time to have courage and boldness and heart and soul and empathy and spirit to go out there and build something for the future. Because this is not the end. This is just a little blip in our lives. We will overcome it.
Well, I absolutely love your positivity. It's great speaking to you. Sadly, we're out of time, Tariq, but many thanks.